Hi, I'm Mark Harry from McCarthy Group. Have you ever wondered where your money really goes? Have you ever wondered, like so many Australians, why it's just so hard to get ahead financially? Keep watching this video, we have the answers here. I'd like to introduce you to what we call the financial operating cycle. Now, this simple diagram has been around for many, many years. However, we've really adopted to use this diagram to help explain what's happening to your money inside of your financial affairs. It begins with your income. Now, for most Australians, they earn their money as PAYG, pay-as-you-go income earners. That is, they've got a job and they've probably got an employer, and that's one option. For other folk, they might in fact be the employer. They might be self-employed, and as such, they have some opportunity, more than likely, to fiddle a little bit with how the money arrives at their station, but eventually, of course, they do earn their income. So there they are. That is their gross income. Now, as we all know, the very first thing to happen after that point is the tax man gets paid. So your paymaster, or you write off to the tax office and give them a whole bunch of money every week, fortnight, month or quarter, and that's of course your tax commitments. Pretty important stuff that is. So that happens actually before you get a chance to count the stuff, you might notice. And that leaves you with, of course, your net income, your take-home pay. This is what goes into your bank accounts from week, fortnightly, monthly, and so on. So there is your take-home pay. Now, from there, we've got three categories generally of expenses to look out for. The very first of these is the vital expense. The ones you absolutely have to pay each month, let's say, and probably hitting that list of vital expenses would be the mortgage. You've got to pay the mortgage every month. You might notice if you don't do it 3 times in a row, the banks get pretty interested in you. So there is our first expense, the vital expense. Now from there you've got these things called necessary expenses. Now what's a necessary expense? Well, it might be probably things like food, clothing, healthcare, transport, maybe school fees, that sort of stuff. So those are the things that are really, really important to make life function in your family. And then finally, after all that, you've got these things called lifestyle expenses. Now, lifestyle expenses might determine, or how much you put towards them might determine the quality of the holidays or the frequency of the holidays you go on. Maybe if you're into some sports or some other recreational type things, if you put money towards that, if you've got a nice bottle of wine, if you go to the movies, or even if you just enjoy a beer from time to time. Now, some folk will say that the carton of beer is my vital expense. I've got to have it. And no doubt you do. I don't mind a beer myself. However, it could be put the argument forward that says the mortgage might be just a little bit more important than that, perhaps. But however that falls into rank is for you to determine. But there we have our expenses. And finally, at the end of all that stuff, we've got these things called savings. Now, the question here really is, how would you rate yourself as a saver? Are you a good saver? Are you a poor saver? Are you middle of the road? Whereabouts would you be? Now, if you're like most Australians, they would say that they are poor savers. They don't save any money. They are great payers, but they are very poor savers. That's just an Australian thing, I think. However, if we look at what's happened so far, we've got money coming in the top. Everyone's had their piece of the pie, and you get whatever's left over. Sound familiar? Okay, now from this money left over, your savings, there's generally only 3 areas in which you can spend your money. That is, you could put your savings towards reducing your debts, paying off your mortgage further, paying off your credit cards, paying off the car lease, paying off your school fees, personal loans, those sort of things, getting rid of debt. That's one option. Second is you could put your savings towards building up your assets, putting it towards a share portfolio, putting it towards a property portfolio, or something along those lines. That's option 2. And option 3 is simply putting your savings towards some predetermined worthwhile financial goals, whatever that means to you. That might mean the trip of a lifetime, round the world 3 times. That might mean the daughter's weddings. That might mean looking after mum in a home. That might mean giving a whole bunch of money to charity. You determine how you want to do that. So pretty simple so far, right? Here comes the challenge. Now, what we find is that of those 3 areas, paying off loans or debts, reducing liabilities, building up assets or other financial goals are in conflict. We want to do all of them, but we want to do all of them at the same time with a limited resource, a finite resource known as our savings. And so consequently, this conflict means that someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. So we see that we might spend a whole bunch of time really focusing on paying off our debts, but of course then up pops the trip of a lifetime, can't miss out, and whooshka, off goes a whole bunch of equity or savings out of the bank. And then we're going to struggle again, and then what do you know? The car breaks down. Who's been in that spot? Then we get back to saving our butts off again, and what do you know? Then comes the school fees. Yeehaw. So we feel like we might be spinning our wheels a little bit here in this space, and perhaps you can relate to that as well. So then we're going to introduce the word if, just to make this cycle into a cycle. The word if. If you were able to pay off your personal debts, let's suppose magically you didn't have a mortgage. So money's coming to the top, but the bank man is not going to get paid because he's been paid out in full, or maybe even paid a whole bunch less because you've paid it down so significantly. But if you didn't have a mortgage, the question is, what would happen to your savings? Well, of course, you'd have probably another $2,000 to $3,000 a month in savings, right? That would certainly affect the bottom line, I'm sure. So if you didn't have a mortgage, we know that part. But what about if you didn't have to pay the tax man? Maybe not anything, but as much. So if you had some, let's say, some investment properties, that would provide you some extra income, known as rent. And if they are the right ones, then you wouldn't pay as much tax. So let's look at what that looks like. If you earned more money at the top from your job and from your rent, so totally gross income is increased, you paid less tax, and you didn't have to pay as much or any mortgage. Now what's going to happen to your savings? Going to go through the roof, right? Well, certainly better than where it is right now. So our mission is to release you from the burden of interest and tax, put you in better control of your finances, and get this system spinning around. And what we believe, and what our clients can attest to over the years, is the quicker it goes around, the quicker you achieve your financial goals. And ultimately, isn't that what you're really looking for? So there we have it. This very simple diagram, a financial operating cycle, which we're going to suggest forms the very basis, the very platform on which we begin our discussions and our discoveries with our clients about where their money is really going. What's happening inside that system? What's happening inside of all those different categories, and how efficiently are you able to complete that cycle so you can achieve your financial goals? Now, if you'd like to know more about how the system works, or in fact more about what McCarthy Group is and what we do and what we offer and what benefits we provide for our clients, please click on the links below. Have a look at our social media sites, so please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can go to us on at McCarthy Socials. It's at McCarthy Socials on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. I think that's enough for now. And you learn more about what we're about. If you want to meet with us in face-to-face or over a quick chat, then by all means, our contact details are below also. So if you have any questions, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Hope you can enjoy this information and keep watching. Thanks again. Bye-bye.